Welcome to Leaders in the Arena. My name is Jenny Whitener. I'm the CEO of Bridge Innovate, and we are a global network of business strategists, consultants, and designers that team up with you to spark distinctive strategies, courageous leadership, and agile change. This podcast is designed to share valuable insights and lessons to support your leadership journey. Today, we'll be discussing Playing to Win, how strategy really works, and we have a number of live guests with us. And so throughout today's session, I just invite you to post your comments in the chat or questions, maybe say hello to your colleagues via the chat. That would be great. So again, welcome to Playing to Win, how strategy really works. Let's start by asking the question, why invest in strategy? Why invest in strategy? If you think about these quotes that are here in front of us that come from some famous folks that are in the field of strategy, look at this one from Lee Ballman, which says, "A vision without a strategy remains an illusion," right? So vision without strategy remains an illusion. Michael Porter, one of the most famous academics in the field of strategy, the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Or when you think about investing in strategy, look at good old Vince Lombardi and his comment, "Hope is not a strategy." Strategy touches every employee and serves as an actionable way to reach a company's goals. One significant benefit of strategic planning is that it creates a single forward-focused vision and sets a goal that can align your company and your resources. At Bridge Innovate, we use a wide range of strategy tools, from the business model canvas, the 3 horizons of growth, the 7 drivers of growth from E&Y, and the Playing to Win framework that we're going to be talking about today with our clients. In this highly volatile marketplace today, we are seeing more clients succeed with the Playing to Win framework. So it's time for us to jump in and explore this in a bit more depth. Playing to Win is a process to create a strategy for your company based on a set of strategic choices that helps your organization win with its customers against its competition. In conventional strategy making processes, the emphasis is on planning and attempting to create a detailed articulation of the company's future. In Playing to Win, the focus is around making 5 key choices that set the stage for effective action across the organization, and the framework is based on the following 3 ideas. First, strategy is about making choices. To win, a company must choose to do some things and not others. Michael Porter was first articulated this message in competitive strategy, and we agree. To compete effectively, an organization must make choices, what they will do, what they won't do, who will do it, who they won't serve, who they will serve, where will they play, what resources will they devote, and so forth. Making choices can feel daunting. There are many options in front of you, but without making choices, we can't win. We can't provide enough value to customers, give meaning to employees, or generate ongoing profits that sustain an organization over the long term. In Playing to Win framework, strategy is what uniquely positions the firm to create a sustainable advantage and to create value at a superior level. So, number 1, strategy is about making choices. Number 2, strategy is about increasing the odds of success, but not guaranteeing it. In strategy, there are no absolute answers. I think oftentimes our clients come to us to think that we're just going to roll out step 1, 2, and 3, but it's really an exploratory process for a leadership team to define those success factors around how they'll enable the company to compete and win in the future. There's no way to eliminate uncertainties, but what you can do is use a structured methodology to increase the odds of success. And then number 3, strategy combines rigor and creativity. Crafting a strategy requires both the creativity to generate new possibilities and the rigor to test hypotheses and possibilities. So let's look at the authors of the Playing to Win framework. What I love about this book and the writing here is that it's based on real, not just theory, but real transformation. The book was designed and authored by the combo of A.G. Lafley, who is the former CEO of Procter Gamble, an amazing leader leading, decades of transformation for P&G. Under his leadership, their market value grew over $100 billion and profits quadrupled. He teamed up with Roger Martin, Dr. Roger Martin, the very famous author around strategy and innovation. He's the former dean of the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management, and a very famous author in the business sphere. So two great forward thinkers on the elements of strategy, but looking at strategy theory grounded in real work. So an amazing author team coming together. When you go on, we think about this concept that comes to life for us in their writings, the Playing to Win process. An organization begins by defining its biggest strategic problem and then formulates several strategic possibilities for solving that problem. Then the specific conditions that must be true for each of the possibilities to deliver a great strategy, and then they test for those assumptions to then formulate the final selection of the strategy. Playing to Win actually takes a slightly different approach than most traditional strategic planning processes in that it reverses the order. And you have to first articulate a strategic choice and then go to analysis and testing to refine possible hypothesis in order to land the strategy that you'll really invest in. So it's a really rigorous process and full of exploratory questions. Let's take a look at this in more detail on the next slide. When you think about this strategy choice process, again, Playing to Win, the authors take us through the structure where you start with a problem that the organization is facing. And from that problem, you look at multiple possibilities. So maybe that's around moving to win as a low-cost provider, or maybe that's repositioning your brand, or maybe that's innovating into a new market space. What are the possibilities of addressing that problem? And for each of those possibilities, they'll specify what conditions must be true, then test for those conditions, and that helps them make the choice of the strategy of their winning aspiration and where they'll play. So let's look at the 5 choices framework on the next slide. What you'll see here, this is the essence of the Playing to Win choices framework, where they have 5 strategic questions that the organization or the strategy team goes through in order to land the strategy for the organization. The first one is, what is our winning aspiration? And all of these questions are interconnected. So first you start with, what is our winning aspiration for us as an enterprise? Then secondly, where will we play? What are the geographies? What are the customer segments? What are the product lines or the areas, and where we'll compete? So first, what is our winning aspiration? Secondly, where will we play? And then the third question, which I find so fun to dig into with a group, is how will we win? What will be the competitive advantage? What will be the distinction, the differentiator for us in the market of how we'll win in this particular arena? So our winning aspiration, where will we play? How will we win? Next, Lafley and Martin take us through a process to get clear on what capabilities the organization must have in order to deliver on that strategy. Oftentimes we see companies fail to go this far into the process, which is critical in terms of moving from a strategy vision or a strategic set of initiatives to actually implementation. So what capabilities must we have? That is something that you define in the choices framework. And then the last component, what management systems do we need? How will we build support? How will we measure those capabilities? Those are the key questions that are discussed through the five choice framework identified in Play to Win. A really simple but highly effective approach to strategy. When we think about this in the larger construct of organizations, many organizations are so large, you'll have multiple cascades, right? You may have a cascade at the corporate or enterprise level addressing these five questions. And then you can take that down to either a strategic group or a divisional level or product level. And the great thing about having an aligned choices framework is you begin to see the synergies or the alignment between these different cascades, ultimately like giving us insight as to across the enterprise, what is the capability that we'll need to win, things like that. So I love the fact you can use the cascade framework in multiple dimensions in an organization. That's really, really helpful. So at Bridge, when we think about launching a strategy process, and taking, if an organization chooses the Play to Win framework as their strategy structure, then what we typically do is to do four simple things. One, our approach in working with strategy and companies is to bring our consulting team into a team structure with leaders from that company. So we want our clients to form a strategy team to work in partnership with us at Bridge. They bring all the institutional knowledge, they know intentionally their marketplace, they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses. And by having this collaborative approach, we can bring the process, we can bring our experience from working with other organizations, and they bring just extraordinary commitment, passion, and institutional knowledge. So we form a strategy design team. The second thing we do is define the strategic problem. What are the problems that face the organization that's inhibiting growth, that's derailing the momentum of the company? So we work through a process of understanding those problems, and then we begin the strategic choices framework, exploring those problems, defining what needs to be true, testing for those, and then working through to get to the final aspirational statement that we're going to go through to implement the choices cascade. A very effective process, really aligns the team around their vision and where they want to go, how they'll win, and what capabilities are needed to deliver on the strategy. So an excellent framework. Let's take just a quick minute before we open it up for questions on looking at a case study. So one of the things I love about the book, Play to Win, if you decide to read it, or I like to listen to books while I'm driving to client sites, but is that they intersperse the theory, the overview of the approach and the methodology with excellent case studies all throughout the book, primarily based on Procter Gamble because of Lafley's role in co-authoring it. And they have this great example of the P&G team who was faced with a situation where they had a product, oil of Olay. It was about a $750 million business. And the problem they were facing was that they were dropping market share. And the customer base that was really the purchaser of Olay was aging. And they weren't attracting new, younger customers. Their audience was narrowing, and there was no real differentiation for that particular product. So they went through the five choices framework and ultimately landed kind of a new launch of that product, Olay, that ultimately grew to a $13.4 billion business. They became number one in their market share at the time. They launched new branding and a broader, widespread appeal in terms of a customer base. So the five choices framework was the guide to help them go through this analysis and establish a new strategy for this particular product offering. Let's just look at it really quickly in the five choices framework to give you kind of more of an idea. Right. So the very first thing they did was, what is our winning aspiration? And the way they said it was beautifully simply. They said, we want to win convincingly in beauty care. So it wasn't just in the facial lotions or in moisturizing. They broadened the category to say we want to win convincingly in beauty care. We want to create a market-leading skincare brand and be a pillar of beauty care that was about uh, delivering great value for a broader customer base. This is a bold aspiration, and so the next choices helped them to deliver on it. So let's look on to what happened next. So the next thing on the strategy cascade is, where do we play? And they knew that their market was aging, so they intentionally decided to go to target a younger customer base, beginning with individuals in their 30s and 40s that were looking to keep a fresh sort of perspective with beauty and fresh investment in their skincare, and before they started noticing the signs of aging. So they established a new customer focus, and they decided to stay in terms of where they would play in the mass retail market. You know, it's kind of the over-the-counter, Walmart, Walgreens, that kind of thing. They evaluated going to the high-end marketplace, but decided it was too expensive. So they were going to play with younger individuals, bringing up that target market segment, and they were going to deliver through mass retail. So that's where they decided in terms of where to play. If we go on to say, how will we win? This took a lot of exploration in the strategy design process. And in the book, if you get a chance to read it from cover to cover, they talk about they wanted to create a demonstrably better product than their competition. And they mobilized a significant amount of research to look at what was important to the customer base that they were going after, and to launch R&D to come up with new products that would address that particular market segment. So they decided to build credentialing, like to establish certain criteria and credentials for their products. They decided to create this sort of masstige channel for using kind of an upmarket packaging and display, looking at one of the sort of the higher end off the shelf brands. And they decided to ensure that when their product launched, that they would be better than their competition. So a lot of testing before they launched the particular product. If you go on to the next slide, what were the capabilities that they would need? R&D, consumer marketing, sort of just understanding more persona and customer analysis around this younger age bracket. And then they would establish new partnerships for beauty, design, and innovation to mobilize new products in this arena. So that would be capabilities that they would need. In terms of management systems, they decided that they would need to look for a partner with a high-end skincare R&D specialist, dermatologist, experts that would be in the skincare arena that could really support them in developing these new products. And that became a part of a management system that they would mobilize. And they also established, of course, your traditional metrics to measure the performance, inventory, business capability, so forth. So ultimately landing Olay, again, as a part of that strategic analysis and the play to win framework, a great success story. I can't do it complete justice in a 10-minute podcast. I just invite you to read the book. You'll be completely inspired. So when I think about today's program on playing to win, an excellent and simple framework to go through the strategy process. If we can help you here at Bridge Innovate in launching your strategy, just reach out. We'd be happy to talk to you about it, whether it's playing to win or the business model framework or whatever, any of the other tools that we have in our toolbox. I'd like to open it up for those who are with us today live. If you have any questions, do the answers and the strategy cascade questions need to be SMART goals? Absolutely. They talk about that in the book in terms of establishing measurable, actionable goals. And so absolutely, thanks for bringing that up. Any additional guidelines you'd offer on creating the answers to those questions? The best thing I can do is an example. It always gives you best insight. So the book actually provides great multiple scenarios and great stories from P&G that bring the cascade to life. So I would invest in listening to that, listening to the book in its entirety, or reading it, flipping through it. So yeah, absolutely. That I think looking for stories and examples would be great in terms of going through the guidelines. The only other thing I would just suggest is that just use rigor in sticking to the 5 choices, right? They're linear into some aspect, but each of them informs the other. So you might start with the winning aspiration, and then you say, where will we play and how we win? When you get to that point, you might decide that you need to go back and adjust the winning aspiration based on your analysis and what you've unearthed. And that's okay. It's an iterative process. They align, but as you go through the discussion of the 5 questions, may have the opportunity to go back, tighten up your perspective, or maybe even refocus your winning aspiration. So don't hesitate to do that when you implement the process. Another question coming in looks like is any advice on rallying others to see that we are just playing and not playing to win? That's a great quote from the book. Like, are we playing to play? Or are we playing to win, right? A very common quote from this research. So thanks for the question. So often organizations, I think, go through the strategy process because they think they just need a strategy. And then it sits on their hard drive or in a manual somewhere, and they actually don't mobilize it. They just check the box. But strategy is critical in terms of creating alignment with the team, defining where you'll invest, defining the measures of that success and how you'll win. So I think if you can make the case for the organization that it's really having this distinctive strategy and mobilizing it, it's where you're playing to win versus just playing to play. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me again, Jenny Whitener at jenny.whitener@bridgeinnovate.com. And great wishes ahead for you on your strategy efforts. Bye now.